video, I'm going to be taking you through the steps of how to transform an old pair of denim pants into a skirt. So there's so many different ways you can customize it to make it your own, but I'm going to be making a midi length one as I've done a mini one before. So what you need to get started is obviously a pair of pants. These are oversized men's denim pants that was actually gifted to me, and I'm just going to give them some new life. And then you need a measuring tape, some pins, scissors, some matching or even contrasting thread, and a sewing machine. So I'll talk you through the first steps of how to get it started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to grab the pants and lay them down with the good sides facing out. So we're going to start by cutting open the inner leg seams. And what we do is we want the good clean sides to be sitting on the front as they end up overlapping, and then we don't need to do as much sewing. So when we cut these open, we'll just move the seams and cut on the back side. And we just go straight across this crotch seam. And I'm just going to flip it around and go back up from the bottom because that's just a bit easier. Making sure again that on the seam I'm cutting on the back side so the nice clean side is on the front. There we go. So by doing that, we then separate the front and the back, which means it's easier to make it into a skirt. So now that we've got the inner leg seams cut, we then continue cutting up the crotch. And again, you'll see that there is a good and a bad side here. So make sure you cut on the bad side so that this good side can easily sit over and be the nice clean piece. So what we do is we cut just before the zip area, and what we'll be doing is for the front to make it into a skirt is we simply just pull this bit over and begin to overlap it. And because we left the good sides on the front, all we have to do is just a simple fold and continue sewing down. Now we've got the inner leg seams and the crotch area cut open. What we'll do next is we're going to focus on the front and figure out the point where we want it to overlap to. So this would be a good time to grab your measuring tape, and if it's going to be high-waisted, measure from your belly button down to the point where you want it to stop. So I know I want mine to stop around the mid-thigh area, as I'm going to make it flare out a bit from there. So for me that is 42 inches. So down here we just replicate it, we find 43 inches, and we make sure that the fold goes to there. And we just flatten that all out, pin this area in place, making sure we're just pinning the front sides together, and then continue just pinning that so it's all stuck together. So now that we've measured down to the point where we want it to start splitting, and we've folded over the top piece and pinned it in place, it's just a matter of sewing down the line and attaching those bits so it forms the front of the skirt. So I'll show you a close-up on how I sew that and do that, and hopefully that makes sense. I'm just going to sew down this crotch line here and to that point where we wanted it to stop at the split, just making sure that there's no fabric underneath and you're going to accidentally attach the back and the front. And just to make it look nice, just continue all the way down to the bottom. I ended up breaking 2 needles, and that's just a tip for you. Make sure you've got like a denim needle or a thick needle, something that can handle thick fabric, especially if you're using denim. But we got there, so that's exciting. So the front bit now is joined and looks like a skirt. So the next stage, what we're going to do is, we've got the front sorted, we'll figure out the length at the end. That's an easy fix. We're going to try it on and see how it fits around the waist. I know that this is really oversized for me, so that'll actually come in handy when it comes to doing the back side, because we can take it in, continue sewing down and connect it all. So I'm going to try it on, I'll show you how much I'm taking in and my steps to do that. So as you can see, the pants are massive on me, And there's a few ways I can do this, but the solution I've come to is, I'm just going to flip it around for now so I can show you, is I'm just going to take it all in at the back seam, as it's just going to make it easy when I sew down the bottom. The only thing about this is that obviously when I do that, the pockets either fall into the seam or yeah, it just makes it look a bit weird. So I'm actually just going to remove them, get rid of that, and go for that effect where you can kind of see where they were sitting and lose the pockets, which is kind of sad, but anyway. And just keep sewing down the back and joining and closing up the back side. And I'll show you how that turns out, and then it will make it just fit so much better on the front side. Woo! So where I've measured in by 5 inches up here, I popped the pin in place, and I'm just going to sew on a straight from there down until the corner of the pants. Therefore it ends up being a straight line like that and makes it look more like a plain skirt. So I'll show you how that ends out, try it on and make any changes where need be. Perfect, so I've finished sewing down the back seam and joined that, so now it's starting to resemble something like a skirt. So the next step is try it on, make sure everything's fitting okay, make any adjustments if need be, and the final step would be to take it up to the point where you want the skirt to finish. I actually want mine to be quite like a long length skirt. I've got a few minis and I want to change things up, especially if we're going into winter in Australia. I hope these steps have helped in showing you how to transform a pair of pants into your own skirt. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I've got the blog post as well linked below. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, subscribe or follow me on the Essentials Club on Instagram.